Welcome to Famevora. What happens to the people who made an entire generation laugh? Do they stay as bright as we remember them? Do they find happiness after the spotlight fades? Or does life, with all its weight and unpredictability, find them just like it finds the rest of us? Three's Company gave us 7 seasons of pure, joyful chaos. But the real story, the one written in years, not episodes, is the one we rarely talk about. Tonight, in 2026, we're talking about it. The careers, the heartbreaks, the battles fought quietly off-screen, and the legacies that outlasted everything. Welcome back to the apartment. The truth is finally home. Jack Tripper was the apartment's living engine, a perfectly timed storm of tumbles, elastic expressions, and breathless panic that played almost like music. John Ritter, born September 17, 1948 in Burbank, California, was 28 when he first crossed that threshold. His physical comedy was never reckless. Every fall was deliberate, crafted to lift those around him rather than outshine them. Jack mattered because Ritter treated sitcom humor as genuine craft. The show ran from 1977 to 1984, cementing Jack among television's most beloved comic creations. Off-screen, Ritter's warmth and decency earned him equal admiration. On September 11, 2003, he died suddenly at 54 from an aortic dissection. A door slammed shut mid-scene. Every rerun still carries him. The stumble, the grin, the warmth beneath the chaos. Chrissy Snow was the apartment's sunshine. Wide-eyed, warm-hearted, and equipped with comedic instincts far sharper than her character ever let on. Suzanne Summers, born October 16, 1946 in San Bruno, California, was 31 when Three's Company launched. On paper, Chrissy was the dizzy blonde. In Summers' hands, she became something richer, genuinely innocent, joyful, with a breezy logic that somehow always landed. Chrissy kept the show's chemistry alive. Her sweetness softened the farce and made the trio feel like true family. Behind the scenes, a contract dispute ended her run abruptly. Summers rebuilt herself as author, entrepreneur, and wellness advocate. Then came a long battle with breast cancer. On October 15, 2023, one day before her 77th birthday, she died. In reruns, her laugh still glows. Janet Wood was the calm at the center of every storm. Sharp, practical, and the only reason the apartment didn't spiral entirely off its axis. Joyce DeWitt, born April 23, 1949 in Wheeling, West Virginia, was 27 when the series began. She never played Janet as a fool. DeWitt gave the character genuine intelligence, dry wit, and earned loyalty, especially in how she balanced exasperation with real affection for Jack's endless chaos. What elevated her work was restraint. In a show built on escalation, she knew when a slow glance was funnier than any shouted line. Her chemistry with Ritter gave the series its emotional backbone. After the show, DeWitt stepped back on her own terms. In 2026, Joyce DeWitt is 76, the steady heart of television's most wonderfully chaotic apartment. Larry Dallas was the neighbor every parent warned you about, and the one you couldn't stop watching anyway. Richard Klein, born April 29, 1944 in New York City, was 33 when he sauntered into the series with open collars and unearned confidence. Larry was the eternal bachelor, scheming, flirting, chasing every thrill. Yet when it truly mattered, he showed up for Jack like a brother who caused the trouble but never abandoned you in it. Klein's gift was timing. He transformed what could have been a hollow cliché into a genuine character. The raised eyebrow, the conspiratorial lean, the instant collapse when the plan fell apart. After the show, Klein worked steadily across television, theater, and directing. In 2026, Richard Klein is 81. Larry's knock still promises the same thing. Trouble is back. Ralph Furley arrived like a walking exclamation point. bold patterns, upturned collars, and confidence that never once matched the room he was reading. Don Knotts, born July 21, 1924 in Morgantown, West Virginia, joined in 1979 at 55, replacing the Ropers with an entirely new energy. Furley was convinced he had mastered youth, romance, and cool, spectacularly wrong on all three counts. Knotts wasn't merely funny, he was precision itself. A comedy legend already, he brought decades of mastery to every flustered reaction and nervous pause. Beneath the oversized suit lived genuine vulnerability, as if Furley performed confidence because he desperately needed it. On February 24, 2006, Knotts died at 81 from pulmonary and respiratory complications. For fans, it felt like losing a beloved uncle who always arrived too loudly, but somehow made every room feel warmer. Terry Alden stepped into one of television's most difficult positions, joining a trio audiences had already fully committed to, and made it feel complete again. Priscilla Barnes, born in Fort Dix, New Jersey, joined in 1981 at 28, bringing steadier, more grounded energy without dulling the show's engine. Terry was a nurse, capable of handling emergencies at work and catastrophes at home with equal composure. That steadiness gave the comedy a new surface to play against, letting Jack's disorder crash into something sturdier. Barnes walked a careful line. Terry was competent and clear-headed, yet fully swept into every mix-up the script demanded. After the show, Barnes worked steadily across film and television. In 2026, Priscilla Barnes is 72 to 73. Sources differ on the exact birth year. Her impact, however, is not in dispute. Helen Roper was impossible to overlook. Flaming hair, vivid caftans, and heartbreak dressed cleverly as comedy. Audra Lindley, born September 24, 1918, in Los Angeles, California, was 58 when she first appeared in 1976, a year before the series officially launched. Helen's jokes about Stanley's emotional distance were funny on the surface, but Lindley laced them with something sharper, as if laughter was the only dignified response to longing. That is why the character resonated. Helen wasn't just the landlord's wife, she was a woman still hungry for romance inside a marriage that had gone silent. That truth carried into the Ropers' spin-off, where Lindley kept the balance alive. On October 16, 1997, she died at 79 from leukemia. Her punchlines always carried a shadow, and that shadow is why she is still remembered. Stanley Roper was every suspicious landlord and reluctant husband compressed into one unforgettable figure, and somehow we loved every grumbled word of it. Norman Fell, born March 24, 1924, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was 52 when he took the role in 1976. Stanley was cheap, judgmental, and unsettled by a world moving faster than he could follow. But Fell's dry, stone-flat delivery transformed every muttered aside into a perfectly sharpened punchline. Opposite Audra Lindley, he played a man who treated affection like an inconvenience, yet the pairing was so consistent it became iconic. Together, the Ropers were a miniature sitcom inside the sitcom. After the show, Fell kept working before illness intervened. On December 14, 1998, he died at 74 from bone marrow cancer. It felt like saying farewell to the cantankerous man downstairs who had quietly become part of home. Cindy Snow arrived like a bright, nervous question mark, eager, accident-prone, and never more than one step from disaster. Jenny Lee Harrison, born June 12, 1958, was 22 when she joined in 1980 as Chrissy's cousin, stepping into one of the most scrutinized seats on television. She faced the hardest task, arriving after audiences had already fallen in love, without pretending to be someone she wasn't. Cindy wasn't Chrissy. She was clumsy, desperate to please, and terrified of failure, which only guaranteed more of it. Harrison leaned into physical comedy and open-hearted sincerity, making Cindy feel like a real young woman navigating adult life with a smile held together by sheer will. Though she stayed just 2 seasons, the impression lasted. After leaving, she found success elsewhere before stepping back from the spotlight. In 2026, Jenny Lee Harrison is 67. Lana Shields arrived like weather Jack Tripper never learned to forecast. Glamorous, self-assured, and absolutely determined to have his full attention. Ann Wedgeworth, born January 21, 1934 in Abilene, Texas, joined in season 4 at 45, flipping the usual sitcom dynamic entirely. For once, Jack wasn't in pursuit. He was in full retreat. Wedgeworth played Lana with bold sensuality and comic confidence, refusing to reduce her to a caricature. Lana owned her desires without apology, and that certainty made Jack's panic feel completely earned. Though her run was limited, she became unforgettable. Big hair, even bigger presence, and absolute conviction she belonged in every room she entered. Outside the series, Wedgeworth built a long, respected career across film, television, and theater. On November 16, 2017, she died at 83 after a prolonged illness. Her scenes still feel like sparks, brief, brilliant, and all the more precious for it. Mike at the Regal Beagle didn't need center stage to matter. He was the steady, grounded presence behind the bar, calm and watchful while everyone else's lives exploded into comedic chaos around him. Brad Blaisdell, born March 15, 1949 in Baltimore, Maryland, played Mike in his early 30s, giving the Beagle the feel of a real neighborhood institution rather than a television set. That is the quiet power of supporting work. Characters like Mike give a world its texture and weight. While Jack and Janet slammed doors and swapped misunderstandings, Mike stayed level, pouring drinks, watching everything, a man who had seen every variety of human mess and learned to smile through it. Outside the show, Blaisdell worked steadily across television. On December 26, 2018, he died at 69 from lung cancer. Even the background had full lives the laugh track never warned us about. Reverend Luther Snow embodied every anxious parent watching the late 1970s loosen its collar. Devout, stern, and deeply uneasy about his daughter's living arrangements. Peter Mark Richmond, born April 16, 1927, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was 51 when he appeared as Chrissy's minister father. His visits forced the show's characters into frantic, elaborate performances, moral scrutiny crashing directly into breezy sitcom chaos. But Richmond never played the character as cruel. Beneath the sternness was unmistakable love, an older man trying to protect his child in a world he no longer understood. That sincerity elevated him beyond a simple obstacle into a portrait of generational divide. Richmond built a long career across classic television before stepping away. On January 14, 2021, he died at 93 from natural causes. His Reverend Snow remains a quiet reminder that the funniest misunderstandings are built on the deepest truths. Frank Angelino was every young dreamer's most feared and secretly necessary boss. Someone who didn't soften his standards, distribute praise freely, or tolerate excuses. Jordan Charney, born April 1, 1937 in New York City, was 42 when he stepped into the role of the restaurant's exacting owner. What Angelino gave Jack's story was weight. Inside the apartment, Jack lived among misunderstandings and cover-ups. In Angelino's kitchen, mistakes had real consequences. Charney played him sharp and impatient, but never cruel. Beneath the hard exterior lay something almost principled, a belief that genuine talent must be pushed until it becomes discipline. Charney spent decades as a reliable character actor across television before stepping quietly away from the industry. In 2026, Jordan Charney is 89. Whenever Jack's culinary dream feels real in reruns, Frank Angelino deserves a share of the credit. We still laugh when Jack stumbles, when the hallway erupts, when the regal beagle fills with familiar trouble. But we understand now what some of those smiles were carrying. Illness fought in private, sudden losses, quiet battles waged far from any spotlight, and lives cut shorter than any of us were ready for. Every rerun is an act of remembrance. These were real people with full stories, joyful, complicated, and far deeper than any half-hour episode could contain. If their work ever brought you genuine laughter, let it bring you one more thing tonight: gratitude. Remember their names. Press play one more time.